the last couple months we've been in a quarantine, and myself and a lot of other people have gone out and gotten bikes. The thing that I have found that I want for my bike is a bike rack. So I ordered a 1UP USA and I'm going to install it on my car right now. So a few months ago too, I installed a bolt-on hitch for my Crosstrek, and what's cool about this one is that it's right here. So the hitch is hidden when I'm not using it, and it's not hanging below, which would take away some clearance for when I'm off-road. But you just pop this out and there's your hitch. This looks like hardware or locks. Yeah. So I'm super stoked on this thing. I've had my bike for about 3 weeks now, put about 200 miles on it, and I want a change of scenery. So this bike rack is gonna help me get to some new places, have some new adventures, maybe go on a couple road trips. But I'm gonna get it secured to the car. It looks sick, I'm stoked. Next part of this, there's an Allen key, but it's a specific Allen key, so it's got a hole, and that goes here. Let me show you. That is used for this. And on there, when you tighten this, it tightens a bolt on the inside of the hitch, which locks it to the hitch. So let's go ahead and do that. Watch out, Lyra. Watch out, baby. Damn, now that thing's not going anywhere. I'm actually shaking the car. Now the only thing I need to do is tie on a piece of safety wire to that rack in case anything bad were to happen, but that thing is on there good. Heck yeah, so now that I've got my rack on the bike, I'm gonna take it out a few times before I continue making a video about it, learn more about it, learn its quirks, all that kind of different good stuff, but super solid on there. I mean, I think that's just like normal. I have these locks, and these locks, so the locks, you kind of have to keep turning the key because there's a threaded head at this point, which is kind of interesting, but I guess it helps prevent theft even more. Alright, so I just read the manual, and there's one part that I need to do, and that is take this lock and put it through the hitch and through the rack to secure it to the car. Alright, so the other thing that I want to highlight on here is the fact that I have a eco hitch from, I forget what they're called, but I have an eco hitch, which is the hitch for the Crosstrek that is hidden through the bumper. Now, some bike rack attachments have some problems with the exhaust and with the back of the hitch hitting the exhaust, and I pushed the rack in as close as I could to my car, and there's still just a tiny amount of space in between the muffler, the exhaust, and the bike rack, and I want to show you how much there is. I could make the gap a little bit bigger if I need to, but I like having the rack like super close to my bumper. So let me show you. My fingers down in there, just barely, kind of squeezing, and then, so here's where the hitch goes in, and then, so here, well, one, you can see that I put a lock in. I need to take out the key. But in between the exhaust and the bike rack is just enough room in the exhaust. The exhaust doesn't really move, it's super on there, so shouldn't have any problems, but if I do, I can always scoot the rack out and keep it flush with this plate. So I've had the trailer hitch on my car for about 4 months now, and I initially took it on a 2,500 mile road trip. On that road trip, I learned a few things. I really trust this bike rack. It's super strong, and I take my car on a lot of washboard roads, forest roads, different light off-roading roads. And the trailer hitch, I always check to make sure it didn't come loose, and that thing stayed on my car no problem. The locking system is well worth getting. I felt like my bike was very secure on the rack with the screw locks, and I used an additional cable lock through the frame of my bike. So if someone tried to take off the wheels with the quick disconnect and tried to pull the frame off, there would still be more of a deterrent in the form of a cable lock around the frame. So I had both wheels locked and the frame locked to the bike rack. Accessing the trunk is super easy. You pull a bar on the underside of the rack and the bike drops down, I think, to probably like a 45-degree angle, and that's enough that I can reach into my trunk from the side, or even scoot behind the bike rack and really get into my trunk there. There's been no drawbacks to the actual physical product. The only drawback is my own fault. Sometimes, twice on this road trip, I drove away with the bike rack down in the position to access the trunk, and once I did notice that it was down, I would pull over, push it back up, and get back on the road. The only other drawback I would say is that it squeaks when you move positions. So when you're going from your bike on the rack to getting in the trunk, there's some squeaking because the mechanism that locks it is metal on metal. And I'm sure there's some sort of lube or grease that I could put on it to prevent that, and that's something that I will be looking into doing. So overall, I highly recommend the OneUp USA Super Duty bike rack. This thing has been nothing but super solid on the back of my car, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing, as I am head over heels for riding my bike. I hope you stick around, watch some videos, consider subscribing, and my motto around here is never stop chasing your curiosity. So stay curious and get out there.